Okay.
Santosh, for the Maven, I have for the Maven install. Do we have to install the Java kit before installing the Maven?
Yes, there are some prerequisites required. I think it also installs Perl, it also installs Java. So, but that is all taken care by Yum. So you can just do Yum, it'll install, right? All the dependencies.
Oh, okay. So we don't have to like install one by one. Just install the yum. It will
Just
look
install
okay.
Yum and it'll take care of all the dependencies.
What does Y stands for?
Y is for yes,
Okay,
interact,
just yes.
non-interactive way.
Okay.
We'll start with a new topic, Jenkins, the continuous integration server. So this was actually developed by an employee working at Sun Microsystems, right? So uh, a group of people were working on developing Jenkins at Sun. At later point of time, when Oracle took over Sun, Oracle team wanted to, have Jenkins as a proprietary licensed product, which they can sell it. But the team, the developers who were working on this project, they wanted it to be open source. So there was a dispute in terms of opinions, and they have created a new branch out of this, and they called it Jenkins, right? So it was actually called Hudson earlier. The product was Hudson, and then when there was a dispute, these developers who were working on Jenkins, they came out and they have formed a open source community and they started working on Jenkins. So that's how Jenkins was developed. So it was Hudson earlier, and then after some point of time, it was renamed as Jenkins, and they created a separate branch out of Hudson, and they started developing Jenkins for open source, right? So if you see Jenkins logs and all, a lot of times you see Hudson dot some plugin, Hudson dot some feature, because Jenkins was actually replicated, branched from Hudson. So Hudson was the old name. Hudson is also still there in the market, which is proprietary, maintained by Oracle. But Jenkins is open source. Anybody can communicate. Anybody can contribute to the open source plugins, and then anybody can download it freely and use it. But after a certain point of time, Jenkins has become so popular that around 70% of the market is driven by it, and most of the people are using, as it is open source and it's easy to use, right? So it's a continuous integration server, most powerful, lot of features, around 4,000 plugins, and it's like a kind of framework which integrates all of the other tools. So it integrates tools like GitHub, which is a source code repository, or it integrates Maven, which is a build tool, or it integrates with Nexus, which is a repository of binaries, and we can have configuration management tools like Ansible or Chef or Puppet to deploy the software into different test nodes, right? So Jenkins has something called plugins. Plugins are nothing but features. If you want to have a new feature, we need to install the plugin, right? So Jenkins works in master-slave architecture. So we can configure Jenkins as a master, and we can have slaves to perform the job. So something like a manager and employee. So manager delegates the work to employee, and employee does all the work. But and he reports back to the manager, and manager is the one who shows the reports. Right? So in the same way, we can have multiple slaves to a single master, and master is the one who delegates the work, in the sense he initiates the work on the slave, and actually slave will be executing the tasks, and once it is completed he'll report back the status to master. So on the master, on the Jenkins master, we can see the status of the execution, jobs, tasks, etc. Right? So it can also run in standalone mode. So only master will be there to execute the task. It runs in two modes. One is master slave, the other is the standalone mode. So generally it will be implemented in the organization wide. So there will be one centralized server which the DevOps team maintains, and there will be slaves across organization geographically, and they'll be used to perform the tasks. So let us say the Jenkins master is somewhere in US, and there is a team which maintains it, and there can be something like different slaves available in Hyderabad, or let us say Bangalore, or maybe this is in Austin or something. This may be in FC, or like this. We can maintain different slaves across the different parts of the world, right? So this is the master which is running here, and there are different slaves available across different regions, right? So there is a, let us say, test lab running. There is a lab in Hyderabad, and there is a lab in Bangalore, and there is a lab in Kapsi. So when we fire a job from master, so we can also choose on which slave you want to execute. You want to execute it on this slave or this slave or this slave. So generally what happens is the machines in Hyderabad lab, the test machines will be accessible to this slave, right? So they cannot directly access the Jenkins. So Jenkins accesses this slave. This slave has the connectivity to Jenkins master, and in turn Jenkins master fires the jobs on the machines in the test lab or in the lab. This is in-premise data center, right? So in the same way, Bangalore machine in Bangalore slave fires the jobs on the machines in Bangalore lab, and Poughkeepsie slave fires on the jobs on the Poughkeepsie lab, right? Test machines in the lab. So this way it works. So generally there will be one centralized server. So that is basically to have a consolidated view of showing what is happening in the project. So something like, let us say, senior management wanted to have a look at the project, what all the builds failed, what all the builds successful, what is happening, so that it gives a kind of a consolidated view to the management, right? So we have a master, we have different slaves across different regions, they perform the actual job. So basically for continuous integration and continuous delivery, right? So a task is called job. Job is nothing but a task, right? We can create a project in Jenkins, and based on the polling, based on the build criteria, it creates the jobs, and then that job will execute a task, whatever we specify. Something like a project is there. We created a project, and there is a GitHub, which is a centralized repository of source code, and there is Ant or Maven or Gradle, and there is something like Nexus repository or Artifactory, and there is configuration management tools to deploy to test environment or production environment. So this will be the flow. So everything is managed by Jenkins. So when someone is added code to GitHub, it automatically polls. It detects that there is a change. So it can be configured such that every 1 minute it polls and detects and checks if there is any change, or so it's a configurable parameter. Every 1 minute or every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes or 1 hour, that way it can configure. Or we can configure something like periodically, weekly, every Wednesday 10 a.m. I want to have a build. So this way, or twice a week. So this way we can configure how it runs. That's so every Wednesday morning 10 o'clock, the job will be executed, and whatever is there, it will pick up and create a build in the sense binary from the source code, or as on the demand basis, something like I want to execute whenever I want, right? So there is an option to build, so that we can click and it will execute on the demand basis, right? Any questions?
Hey, Santosh, this master slave, this is looks like primarily for the to distribute the workload, right? Mainly.
Right. So yes, it's basically for distributing the workload. There are some plugins to do that, and it's like we can choose on which node this project has to be executed, or we can leave that to Jenkins based on the utilization of the resources. Jenkins will decide which slave is free, and it will execute on that.
Oh, so Jenkins will do the load balancing also, eh?
Right. So there are some plugins to do that, but it's like you need to have the connectivity across all the slaves, all the test machines and Jenkins, so that it can take up any particular slave.
Okay, so it's kind of a clustering. You're gonna create a cluster for Jenkins and have
No,
one.
it's not a cluster. It's a purely master and slave architecture. When you
Okay,
say
okay,
cluster, it's like all are equal, and the information is shared across everyone. And if one goes up, one goes down, the other will come up, right, in the clustering concept. But this is like a master and slave architecture. But for providing high availability to Jenkins, we may have cluster of Jenkins masters, like two machines which are Jenkins masters. We can create a cluster out of them, and they can manage the slaves, and by any chance if one of the machine goes down, other can take up. But that is very rare scenario. I don't think anybody implemented, but this is like a mostly like a master and slave architecture.
okay.
It's like master can execute anything on slave, but slave cannot do that on master.
Okay, but and slave and all the slaves have same capability, right? They have the same uh, capability of deploying the codes, right? All the slaves are same, right?
No, it need not be. It depends on the requirement. It can be
Okay,
different slaves
okay,
also.
okay,
All what
okay,
we need is SSH communication, like how we did in Ansible. It's same as that.
okay. Okay, so you can define roles to which role goes to which slave and which role goes to which slave. Right?
Yeah, we can define based on the project. This project has to be always executed on a particular slave that we can choose.
Okay, I got you.
Okay. Uh, like any other tool, we install Jenkins, we start the service, we configure. So by default, it listens on port called 8080. Yes, we can change it if you want. If any other application is using 8080, we can change it to some other in the configuration file. But by default, it listens on port 8080. So we access using IP address 8080 or the hostname 8080. So it's written in Java. So Java is the prerequisite. We need to install Java before installing Jenkins, right? And once we install the Jenkins, once we start the service, and we can access it using graphical user interface web in the browser, and we can log into the machine. We can configure the credentials, and we can create the users. We can install the plugins, and we can do a lot of configurations, right? Then once all those configurations are completed, then we need to create a job, a project, and then hook all the tools to Jenkins project so that it polls or it executes based on the build schedule, right? So just to install the Jenkins, install Jenkins. This may not work because Jenkins has its own repository. So we need to execute the command from the repository to execute to install Jenkins, right? So if I go to the documentation, If you see,
Is
there are
it
three
also
steps.
used? Sorry, is it also used for patching? Let's say if you have to patch.
Yes, for anything we can use. Any automation we can do from Jenkins.
Oh, okay. This is something we can do with Ansible also, right?
Ansible we can do. Ansible can be chipped into Jenkins, so that, but Ansible cannot poll a git and find out like there is a change and I
Okay.
need to create a job, right?
Okay.
So Ansible is just like a configuration management tool, but this does a lot of other things.
Okay.
Okay. So just copy these steps here. So this will download the repository, import the key, and then it will install the Jenkins. So if I just go here and execute,
Yes. Santosh, we didn't spend much time on Maven. You think that is enough, what we did?
we'll revisit once we have Jenkins. We'll integrate, right? That time we'll take a sample project. We'll go through the
Okay.
path. So that was like an introduction. Then we see the integration of all components. We'll go through.
Also, one of the notepads that where you're typing all those things, we haven't received those notepads. At some point, are you going to send those notepads?
I don't store actually all those things, but if you want, I can simply ping it to the chat. You can copy it, but
Okay.
please remind me at the end of the class.
Sure.
So service Jenkins start is to start the service, and if you see the status, so it will be active, and I can access that over the port 8080. So this is the IP. So let me try to open the browser. So for the first time, for security purpose, it will ask a password. So that password will be inside the machine. So we can just open this file. We need to copy this file inside this. We need to copy the password inside this file and paste it here. So that will allow to log into Jenkins. So I'll just do cat and this is the password. This is the one-time activity for the first time, and then just paste it and you can continue. So customize Jenkins. So these are there are plugins. There are two options. Install suggested plugins. This is like recommendations by Jenkins. So most of the frequently used plugins we can install. This is to select plugins to install. So here we can choose. Here we can go with the default recommended plugins. So if I click on it, it will install all the plugins which are frequently used.
Santosh, here we don't see Maven plugin, only Ant plugin we can see.
Yeah, some of the plugins by default they won't be installed, so we need to install. Let us say Ansible is
Oh,
also not installed, right? So Maven is not installed, or
yeah.
yeah, so some of the plugins, some reporting plugins like HTML Publisher, JUnit Publisher, or all those things are not installed. So we need to install them. So these are the very few plugins which it will install. Okay, so it will ask to create the first time user. You can create the user or you can continue as admin. So there is the option to continue as admin. Start using Jenkins. So this is the Jenkins homepage dashboard. So we can create the new jobs by clicking on here, new item, and there is something called manage Jenkins. So using this, we can configure Jenkins, right? So if you want to configure the system, some settings, paths and all, we can set here. And this global security is for assigning, creating the users, assigning the different permissions to them. Okay, and configure credentials is to access the slave. Global tool configuration is like we install some of the tools, right? And if you want to specify the path to them, we use global tool configuration. And the other thing is manage plugins. This is also this is the important one where we install the plugins using this option. Okay, so if you see configure global security, there is an option to enable security or disable security. If you disable if you click on this, it will ask the username and the password to log in. If I don't click this, anybody can access without providing the password. So this is to have the security, have the login for the Jenkins, right? So here security we can set up something like how do you want your users to log into Jenkins? Do they want to use the intranet, in the sense the company user ID and the password? Then we have to use something called LDAP. What is the LDAP? It's like there is a LDAP server setup in any organization, lightweight directory access protocol. And so when someone tries to log into Jenkins with their intranet ID, it will be authenticated against that LDAP server, and if the authentication is successful, then only it will allow login to Jenkins. So generally this will be set up. So you log into Jenkins with your intranet credentials, the organization's email ID and the password, right? So to do that, we need to set up LDAP. So this will be specific to organization. So you need to provide your organization's LDAP server's details here. And when someone tries to log in, it will go to the LDAP server, authenticate, and come back to Jenkins if the authentication is successful. Right?
So it can be integrated with Active Directory, right?
Yes, it can be integrated.
Oh, that's good actually.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, we need to get the details from the administrator. So
Yeah,
there will be some
of course,
ports.
you need a domain controller and admin password.
Right. Yeah. LDAP server, the port it is using, and the syntax to access it, and the organization unit, and all that stuff we need to get.
Yeah.
Okay. So it can create its own database, Jenkins' own users database, allow users to sign up. So if you click on this, the next time when a user logs in, it will ask to sign up, and he can sign up, and then he can log into the Jenkins and use it, right? So here also there is something called authorization. Anyone can do anything. If you click on it, anybody can create a job, delete a job, edit the job, modify the job. Or only logged in users can do anything. So only people who logged in can perform something on it. Or we can also have something called matrix based security. So this is like when we add the user, we can give specific permissions. People can only read the job, they cannot execute. Or people can execute, people can build it, people can configure. So there are a lot of options. We'll see some of them while creating the jobs, right? So these are the different options, but generally in an organization we use LDAP or we use Jenkins' own database to set up. Okay. I did not give the permission to admin, so it is not allowing me to log in. Okay, so in this case, we cannot log into Jenkins and we cannot do anything now. So I cannot go back because I don't have the permission. But since I have the CLI access, I can go to Jenkins. So by default, when Jenkins is created, there is a user ID called Jenkins with the name Jenkins created. Whatever we execute, that will be executed as the Jenkins user. Right? You start a job. So basically all our Linux commands, right? So all those commands will be executed as Jenkins user. So we need to take care of the permissions when we execute a job or when we execute a command, right? So now we are not able to log in. So since I have CLI access, so there is a file called, so if you see what is the home directory of Jenkins user. So there is a Jenkins user created, Jenkins automation server. His home directory is var lib Jenkins and the default shell is bin false. This we need to change it to bin bash if we want to log into Jenkins, log into the server as the Jenkins user. Okay. So there is a server, there is a user ID created which is Jenkins, and now I can log in as Jenkins user. Now ID will show me as Jenkins user, right? So let us disable the security as I did not give the permissions to admin. So what we do is we go to a file called etc Jenkins. There is a file called var lib Jenkins config.xml. So we can go to this file and there is a field called use security is equal to true by default. This we can change it to false. Okay. Then you can restart the Jenkins. This will allow us to log in. So now there is no security configured, so anybody can log in. Okay, so I directly logged in without providing the
Santosh, you create a user ID, create one user for Jenkins, then you also change the directory into bin bash, right?
Right.
Okay. Is that user is only for Jenkins, like for is regular OS3 user?
This user is for both. It will create a user ID on the Linux machine and also on the application Jenkins. Because I logged into the machine using Jenkins, right? Okay. So then I can go to the manage Jenkins and I can give the permissions again. Configure global security. So there is a user admin already created, right? So I'll go here. enable security, Jenkins owns your own user database, and here in matrix based security, I add a user admin and I give all the privileges to him. Okay, if I right click this side, there is an option to select everything, right? So I'm just adding a user admin and I'm giving all the privileges so that he can perform anything, and I enable the security. So now it will have the password admin, and I need to provide the same password which it has given some time back. Okay, so now I logged in as admin. Now let us create a job, a project. It is a sample project. Right. So here we can create different projects. The freestyle project. So this is a basic one, right? So everything is graphical. We can just drag and drop in the sense we can create the plugins on the graphical user interface itself. So there is a pipeline. This is something like we can write scripts to automate the jobs creation, the tasks, integrating different tools. Okay, and there is also something called Maven project. There is also something called multi-branch pipeline to detect the branches automatically. Okay, so for now we'll go to freestyle project. Okay, so I can give a name, some description. There are a lot of other options, right? So here source code management is there. So which source code you want to use? Is it Git or Subversion? If you are using something else, we need to install the plugin which is related to that source code management and add it here, right? And build trigger, build periodically. So here we can give the schedule every week, Wednesday or Thursday 10 o'clock, or every Saturday 5 o'clock, something like that we can give. Or we can also give something called poll SCM. This is every minute we have to poll and check if there are any changes. So it will poll and detect if there is any change, right? We'll see them later. So now I'll just create a basic job. So there are something called build environment, build step, actual build step, then post build actions. Okay, so the main things are integrating the source code management, Git or Subversion, executing the build, post build actions, right? So in the build, you can actually execute anything. You want to execute a shell script from Jenkins, or you want to execute a Perl or Python or Ansible playbook. We can do anything using this option, right? So here execute shell is there. So I'll just say ID. So as which user it is getting executed, host name, what is the machine name on which it's executing, PWD, present working directory, where it is getting executed, right? So 3 commands I have given. So this is a Jenkins server. So basically a Linux machine. On it, we installed the Jenkins and we created a job. So I'll just save this. And there is an option to build now. So this is a project. If I click on build now, it will create a build. So the build numbers will start from 1. So there is a build created and it says success, and we can access that using the console output. Okay, so if you see the ID is Jenkins, so whatever we execute, that will be executed as the Jenkins user. Host name, some host name where it is installed, and PWD is, this is the project's home directory, where lib Jenkins workspace sample project. So whatever we execute, this gets executed from this location. Is this clear?
Yeah, Santosh, it is executed on Jenkins server?
Yes.
No.
If we have slave, it gets executed on the slave, not on the master. But since I have only standalone Jenkins, it's getting executed on the master. Right? Is this clear? We created a project, sample project, and we can configure it. Just click on it and say configure. And again, we can edit the project. You can change something if you want. Okay. So here we have given execute shell, in the sense these commands or this shell script, whatever we write here, will be executed on the Jenkins. So there are 3 commands. These 3 commands are executed. So just to demonstrate like what is the ID it is using to execute, on which machine it is getting executed, and what is the current working directory, right? So you can give any Linux command here, it will go and execute on the Jenkins server.
Can we execute these commands? Can we execute these commands on any remote Linux machine or
Yes,
non-slave machine?
Yes,
Like
we can execute on any machine provided SSH communication is there.
Okay, so any machine, even it's not a slave, we can
Yes.
run that command, right? Okay.
Yes, yeah, we can do that. So manage Jenkins, under that there is something called manage plugins. Under that, if you see, there are 4 tabs: updates, available, install, advanced. So this is like we install some of the plugins. They will be present in installed section, install tab. If you click on it, these are the plugins which we already installed. Okay, and if this version is, let us say, 1.7, if there is a new version in the market, so that will come here, updates. So there is a new update. Do you want to install it, right? And there is something called available to install. So there are a lot of plugins available. Which one you want to choose and you can install. So let us say Maven plugin is not there. So I'll just go to Maven. Maven repository. Maven integration plugin. So this, we can select the plugins which we need and we can try to install them. Okay, so there are 2 options. One is install without restart, download now, and install after restart. So if we install without restart, these plugins will be installed without restarting Jenkins. And there is an option to download now, install after restart. So if something like if a job is under execution, if we install and restart the Jenkins, so the jobs will be terminated. So what we do is either install without restart or download now and install after restart. So we wait for the jobs to finish, and then when all jobs are completed, we can restart Jenkins. Then it will install the plugins. So some of the plugins needs mandatory restart of Jenkins server. So for them, we have to see the downtime and then restart. So install without restart. this will install the Maven plugins, and also the dependencies also it will install. So in anywhere, this blue indicates that it's a success, red indicates that it's a failure. Okay, so Maven is installed, so that now we can go and see in the project. If we go to the project and configure, so in the build step, now we should get the Maven install top level Maven targets. This is the one which we need to execute. Right, goals we need to specify. Maven deploy, Maven install, Maven something, goals or phases. If we specify, that particular thing will be executed on the machine. Right. So this is how we install a plugin. If we go to manage Jenkins and plugins, manage plugins, and there are 4 things, right? Updates, you get updates here when we get update from the plugin. Available or available to install, we can install from here. There are 2 ways to install: install without restart, download now and install after restart. These are the installed plugins. And let us say the Jenkins doesn't have the internet connection. So that time we cannot install the plugin because this plugins will be downloaded from the Jenkins repository. So for security reasons, if the Jenkins doesn't have the internet connectivity, what we can do is we can download the plugin to the local machine, to laptop. Then there is an option to upload. Upload the plugin. Choose the file, and there the plugin which we download, and then when we upload, it will automatically install the plugin. Okay, so these are the 4 tabs. Update is to get the update, available is to available for installation, installed is the already installed ones, advanced is to upload the plugin when there is no internet connectivity or automatically downloading the plugin is not working. Right. So Jenkins can be restarted in 2 ways. One is service Jenkins restart, or we can also do something like this. On the graphical user itself, just enter restart. So this will restart Jenkins. Are you sure you want to restart? Yes. So this will restart the Jenkins.
Santosh, you installed 2 plugins, right? Maven repository server plugin, Maven invoker plugin.
Yeah. So the other one is not required actually. So we can have one Maven, what is that, Maven targets or something is there, that plugin we can install. What is the password? What is the password? We can also set a password policy in the same configure security to change the password once the user logs in for the first time. Okay.
Santosh, you also installed some common plugins in the beginning. Where did you go and install the common plugins?
So it is like after downloading Jenkins, after starting the service, and once you go into the Jenkins URL, the first step it will ask is to provide the password. Once you provide the password, the next step is it will check, it will give the plugins list. I mean, it will give 2 options. You want to install the recommended plugins, or you want to install the selected, you want to select the plugins. So choose install recommended, so it will install all the default plugins.
Okay.
Okay. Is this clear?
What is the most common projects or tasks in Jenkins? Like normally in an organization, normally people do. Like what are the most common projects they
Common, I mean, it's like the software delivery, the continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment. All those tasks can be done in using Jenkins. So anything which can be automated can be started from Jenkins. Any operation you want to patch a system. So it's like you don't want to log into the machine again and do the patching. With a just click, I want to do the patching, right? As I said, I want to patch a machine. So that I can do it from Jenkins, right? So I don't even have to log into the Jenkins. It does all automation. It internally logs into the machine. It does whatever your script does. I mean, Jenkins as such will not do anything on its own. It is all the plugins or it all the scripts that we integrate with Jenkins that performs the job, right? So you have something which is automated. So Jenkins acts as a facilitator in the sense we can give anything, we can configure anything in Jenkins that will actually go and perform the job, right? So let us take for example, you want to patch a system, right? So you what all the details you need to patch a system. So first you need to log into the machine, the IP address, the username and the password, and the which patch you want to apply. So let us say there is a script in the backend that actually patches the machine. So that actually installs something on the machine. So the same thing, you can create a job here. You can have options to select, right? So you specify the, so using Jenkins you can also develop menus in the sense drop down list, choice list, all those things we can ask a user to select. Let us say there is an option to build with parameters. So we can specify the parameters here. Okay, let me take example.
Is it mainly used for Linux servers or project or only Windows also? Mainly Linux, right?
Yeah, mainly Linux. But if you have a server running on in the lab, continuously runs 24/7, we can also configure. So it's like this has to be available all the time because people will be using the Jenkins server. So Windows or Linux, it doesn't matter, but it works on anything. But the thing is, the Linux server or Windows server has to be always up.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a option to select this build is parameterized and we can add a parameter, something like all these are options. You want to add a string parameter, you want to add a boolean, okay, password parameter. So I'll just say string parameter and let us say I give a name to it. Okay, I give name as var1. Default value I'll give as 1. Description, enter a number, and I'll add another parameter. String parameter. Name var2 and I'll give default value as 2. Enter another number. Right. So here I'm getting something from the user as an input, that is var1, var2. I'll ask user to enter something, then I process them here. So what I'll do is I'll simply write something like whatever the user enters, that will be stored on var1 in var1. Whatever the user enters for the second time, it is stored in var2. So I'll just say var3 is equal to expr $var1 plus $var2. Okay, then I'll just print echo sum is $var3. So I'll just save it. So let us see what happens. See, there is an option called build with parameters. Because I have choose option 2, this build is parameterized, then it will give option build with parameters. Then it will give the build requires parameters, enter a number, enter another number. I'll just say build. So there is a second job. which will be getting executed, and if you click on it, it will give expression 1 plus 2, sum is 3, right? So like this, we can develop the menus from Jenkins, and you can ask the user to enter something, and we can process those variables inside your script. So let us say you want to patch a system. So you can give something like enter your IP address here, and you give your IP address, and I store in a variable called IP, and then enter the username and the password, and then I can give those things in the execute shell. And let us say you execute a shell, you already have something like patch a system, patch underscore script.sh, and then you pass as a command and arguments, something like IP, username and the password. Then what it does, it goes and executes the script and it performs the job, right? So like this, if you have something automated, that is always that can be kicked off from Jenkins using the job, right? Okay, any questions? So here the blue indicates it's a success, and this is the weather status. This shows the stability of the build. So if this the build fails, it will show up in red, and if we can stop the build in between if it is happening, and that will show in gray color in the aborted status. Okay, and this is like a weather report. It's like depends on the last 5 builds. If last 5 builds are successful, it will show something like this, sunshine. If it is failed, the status changes based on the build success. Is it like some storm or raining or thunder, and all it will show. So something like a weather report.
Santosh, what's the option when you have to install, when you have to run the same on the remote Linux machine where SSH is enabled?
Very simple. So whatever you execute from here, it gets executed on the machine, right? So if you want to execute remotely, just say SSH and the username and the command. So it will go and execute on that particular machine, provided you have passwordless authentication set up, right?
Okay, so
yeah, that's this thing. You have machine. Either you have to add it as a slave if you want to execute it automatically, or you can specify a passwordless authentication and you give any machine, it will go and execute because it will not ask password, so it's automated.
Okay.
And so typically how do we configure is we have the flow, right? So GitHub, then Maven, then Ansible, and then you run the tests, and then we send out a mail. So we can also configure a plugin to send a mail, and we can give the recipient list here. So in the plugin, so after the job is completed, it will send the test report to everybody in the project. Or if people are using something like a distribution list, so it will send out a mail to all the people in the distribution list. Or if there are also plugins like integrating it with Slack, the communication channel, and if we configure that, it will send out a message to Slack saying that this build with this version, the status and the number of tests passed, failed, and etc. Okay, any questions? So you can see the version of the Jenkins on the right side corner here, 2.6, 2.60.3. This is the version. Okay, you can also enable auto refresh. So this will screen will be refreshed automatically every few seconds, so that if any build is created, it will automatically show up here. Okay, so this is the workspace in the sense the working directory of the job, and if there are any files in the directory, it will show up here. And this is the home page where if you have multiple projects, it will show here. Okay, so we'll stop here. We'll continue with Jenkins tomorrow.